Hi everyone, and welcome to the Friday Special. I am your host, Jupi, also known as Cute Pangies, and welcome to Of the Devil, Episode 2 once again. We're continuing our wonderful adventures of lawyering with the Mafia. Hi Mitty, hope you're doing good. I'm a little late, yes. You might have noticed that I've been a little late, but that's because I kind of went onto a prep session for Icebreaker. Yes, I will be actually running at Icebreaker. Which, by the way, thank you, Mitty, for saying congrats on getting into Icebreaker. Thank you so much. If you want to know more about Icebreaker, he's the beautiful command. But Icebreaker is basically the currently happening event organized by Helix and a really long fun channel to support Minnesota and I forgot the actual name of the charity, but basically Minnesota has been hit by loads of terrorism by the hands of ICE and DHS, and Helix didn't take that lying down and decided to organize a giant out of nowhere event. And that was great because 400 people submitted or something like that. I got out of backup. I was actually not supposed to be running, but someone unfortunately had to leave. They couldn't stay in the event. So yeah, 400. That's a lot. It is a ton of runs. It was ridiculous. Even the number of volunteers, we're talking about 150 something. Like, they had to say no to some volunteers. It was ridiculous. And this made kind of a sudden boost and interest in the current situation in Minneapolis and in the US in general. And it's always good to be helping for a good cause. And while I wouldn't have been running if not for someone dropping out, I am very grateful that I was going to be on chat modding anyway. I was going to be helping no matter what. So I am really happy that I get to run and do something. But also, go support people who do anything about this event. The organizers, the runners, the hosts, the tech, everyone. They're doing such an amazing work of organizing so quickly and with such great quality. Games Committee somehow cooked so hard, and I'm very happy to say that the schedule is stacked. There's so many good runs. You should absolutely go watch it. But in the meantime, if you want to watch my stuff, yeah, we're going to be continuing on Of the Devil. Last time, we got hired by the Mafia to clean someone's name. The other problem is that, well, our client, if we could say so, kind of got roughed up by police, and also that now we're going back to a place because the guy that is our client is also the person we framed for murder. You know, the murder that happened at the beginning of the episode? Yeah! Now we're gonna prove that it's not him who did it. But also not say that it's us. How Morgan's gonna get out of this one? Let's see it now. Also, as a reminder, I'm playing on high roller, which means high stakes lawyering. I'm gonna be very excited to get to the lawyering at this point. But also, the games that I play often on Friday Special have a little thing called Mature Themes. Let's talk about the content warnings for this time. We're gonna be talking about descriptions and stylized depictions of violence, murder, and implied psychological torture. Your discretion is advised. I would also recommend that you go read the content warnings on the Of the Devil Steam page, because they're literally listed there, and this is just a excerpt of that. Because otherwise Twitch would not allow for a longer message. So yeah, let's go right into Of the Devil. Right now. So last time, we ended in front of the building where we had the massive killing. And now we're going on a little bit of an investigation. Let's go for it. This fire escape will lead right up to the crime scene. Assuming it doesn't come crashing down once you step on it. It's missing the ladder that will connect it to street level. You're violating fire code with this tetanus trap, Han. Building inspection is not my department. Besides, we want to climb up into a burning building. Firefighters. You're funny, Bridges. Even a copper firefighter wouldn't risk getting singed to save a Lower Ward's property from burning down. Oh, no. Derogatory word for automated dependents, particularly ones licensed or operating under the authority of the state. Interested parties in the automated dependent industries have, on more than one occasion, lobbied for copper and other terms like it, clanker, chrome dome, microchip, breath, sick, to be classified as hate speech, arguing that anti-mechanical sentiment constitutes an expression of prejudice. Oh, don't tell me this, this is the AI bullshit again. Were it considered a form of hate speech, incidents of destruction of corporate property where such terms were used in private communications would qualify for additional severity and higher fines paid towards the damaged party. It's weird that they only care about the hate speech when it's, you know, their property. Under all but the most radical interpretations of hate speech law, however, prejudice can only be directed towards sentient living things. People, animals, or corporations. If you feel that a corporation you know has been the victim of a hate crime, you can report it at our confidential portal here. Ah, the good world of corporations being people. Definitely didn't mess up things. An ad could probably make the jump from there. Ads are heavy. If an android leaped onto that, the whole mess would come down on top of them. Let's see the fire escape. The fire escape connected to the room where the crime took place. Rusty and poorly maintained, it's missing the ladder that would normally let you climb up from the street, so one could only freely move back and forth between the third floor room where the bodies were found and second floor room beneath it. Okay, so we have only a connection between second and third floor. That's important. Yeah, modders are heavy too. Hey. Looks like the only way into the building is through the front door then. It was much darker last night than it is now, and I only took a quick peek. But even so, this looks like it's been moved, huh? Yes, was trash picked up last night, perhaps? Hi, Ellie. How are you doing? I see that you're a very EP girl. We just started, and I will explain to you why we just started pretty soon. It might come with, I might have, done something. That is very good. Don't worry, nothing bad. But I don't want to spoil it here. Checking the motor number on the side. Looks like dumpsters of this make haven't been picked up in the city in a decade. I didn't realize there was DRM on trash cans. Hey, it's a heavy model, tough to lift even if its wheels weren't broken. And designed for containing industrial waste? How it ended up here in the residential district is that hard to puzzle out, is it? It was cheaper for the megs to dump their shit on us than it was to haul it to a landfill. That's why I can see markings underground there, from leaks. Oh, you're really a tourist, aren't you? I've been in the lower woods before, but only at night, right? Rains steady down here, stains the ground whenever it falls. Acid rains, like from the history books. Not quite that bad, just smog combined with the precipitation wind, combined with the charms of the city to make dirty rain. Like I said, Lower Ward spring water. There's a shot name after it, tequila and pickle juice. Ugh. I don't drink, so I wouldn't actually tell what that would taste like. So is the dumpster empty? Let's see. Hey, grab a glove if you're gonna... Yeah, it's mostly empty, except for a bunch of scrap metal at the bottom. Explains why I can't get it to budge. Careful, if your toe get trapped under here, under there, don't look at me to help you just cause I'm mudded. Doing not great? Oh, I'm so sorry, love. I hope you're gonna take the time to rest up a little more. Are you saying you couldn't budge it either? I could if a girl was cheering me on. Aw, Han. If you want, I will cheer you on, girl. Okay, London, thanks. Don't know what I was expecting to find, really. And why? No, just watch it so you don't. Let the lid slam. I mean, tequila and pickle juice. Oh yeah, okay. Sorry. You have a file. One problem with blue bloods and cops running security. I don't know who to blame for leaving this shit there. I'll give the moral high ground to whichever part of society learns to pick up after themselves first. Bombing rolled out in university fire. Panic abounded last week on campus when the computer labs at North Technica University was set ablaze in the early hours of the morning. Students and faculty skirted this campus in anxious, hunched postures as federal agents descended on the lab's vicinity, searching for signs that could point to a culprit. But as of today, the fire has officially been ruled an accident and successfully traced back to a cooling system failure in the basement's main server hub, a freak accident that has provided simultaneous relief and confusion to the community. When the fire was first reported on, many were quick to point out its similarities to other fires and bombings recently reported as sweeping eastward across the nation. Dubbed by some members of the press as work of the Witch of the West, haha, funny joke, each incident appears to have targeted data infrastructure, hitting state, corporate, and academic nerve centers and leaving behind significant financial grief in the aftermath. Hundreds of thousands of files related to student debt, all of it non-recoverable. Yay! I mean, we're supposed to, be unhappy about that. Said one anonymous campus security specialist after the university student registry records went up in literal smoke. We're reaching out to alumni as quickly as we can to try and piece their records back together, but frankly a lot of them have been less than eager to speak with us, and we may have no choice but to re-examine payment plans for current students' tuition. Oh no! They will have to actually spend all of the money they collect. Federal investigative officials have no formal comments at this time, but certain local law enforcement officers have described seeing federal agents frustrated with the so-called witch. Criticism of the response has begun to surface from the political realm, with Senator Colt now formally calling for the director of investigations to testify as to the progress or lack thereof in the search for this serial arsonist, and other notable. Hey, we don't seem to have your ID in our database. If you fill out a simple form for us, we can get you the rest of this article, along with a ton of article offers and limited time sales served up exclusively to a compliment ID 09 like you. Wow. Damn. I feel like I've heard stories about bombings out west in the last few months. But I didn't know they'd been all attributed to one person, that they're now calling them the Witch of the West. There's no mention of victims, only data centers being targeted. But clearly this witch is hitting someone where it hurts if they now got beds involved. What really stands out here is that the federal investigators are getting involved. Most national security agencies were absorbed into the military police complex decades ago. That Bureau survived, but it's a mere fraction of the size it used to be, and very different in its function. Their modern reputation is that of attack dogs, deployed by the Senate to make example of political targets. I can't say I like the idea of them being out there hunting for serial offenders. Alright, I'm done back here. So I think I've seen everything That's right. I was standing here last night when... It was dark and foggy. The kid was too far off to make out my face. Weren't they? What is it, Tiger? Nothing. But I saw someone out of the corner of my eye, that's all. Yeah? Around here, maybe it wasn't enlisted. Why do you... those are real? To themselves, obviously, but yeah, they're real. It meant some. They inform sometimes of what they've seen. Never come in to testify, of course. You'd think they stand out dressing like that, but... if camouflage didn't work, they wouldn't be unlisted, right? What do you mean they keep to themselves? Don't they work with any of the gangs down here? Sorry, have I gotten your ups up or something? Trust me, you've got a better chance of winning the lottery than running into one. Right, forget I asked. You ready to go inside? I think so, so long as... No, I'm not with anyone else. It's just me here. Because she's shrill, princess. And delusional, you know that. I'm sure she'll catch up. So you were saying this used to be an apartment building? Somewhere between that and a long-stay motel, yeah. The Bloods didn't deviate far from that model when they took over. They call rooms like these vaults, place to stash away a lover, witness, debtor when there's too much heat. We've gone through all of these vaults, I take it. Sionis helped us with that last year, yeah, bringing around master keys, clearing out every possible hiding place. Didn't find a red-handed killer hiding anywhere, did you? Sorry, no. So is this the Blue Bloods' forte, then? Securing people, places, and things? Could think of it that way. Guess I always assumed gangs made their money through drugs. Well, the Blue Bloods do deal here and there. But narcotics has been a rich man's game ever since the CDCA rolled in. We talked about the CDCA last time, but it's basically... We'll talk about the unlisted in a sec, but yeah. The laws that decriminalize the narcotics side of things. And now... corporations are very into trying to find the newest shit to give to people. But I hate Steam sometimes, yeah. Sorry, gal. Let's go to Unlisted again. Unlisted is an informal designation given to individuals, often missing persons or unhoused, who are not being tracked in any government database. For much of the 21st century, individuals of this description were most often undocumented immigrants. Following shifts in immigration patterns and the implementation of the Military Service Citizenship Program, aka the Minutemen Bill. God, this is so on the nose. Undocumented immigration has sharply declined. While many non-citizens do live and work within the country, they are tracked through immigration monitoring and services, or as part of their military service agreements until they either leave the country or are fully naturalized at the end of the service. Today, unlisted mostly refers to small groups of seasonal workers who travel the country in migrating caravans to find work undercutting corporate contracts on various agricultural fungal installations. Some anthropological studies have described them as a group of unlisted living in urban, generally poorer areas as what are effectively homeless communities. Unlike most homeless people, the overwhelming majority of whom are unhoused for less than 2 weeks, these unlisted actively refuse state housing assistance or assistance of any kind. Concerns about malnourishment, illiteracy, extreme poverty, and rampant mental illness within enlisted population has, at times, spurred outreach programs that attempt to contact them, but by their very nature as unlisted, actual data on their quality of life or cultural practices is virtually non-existent, making most politicians hesitant to commit resources towards these causes. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Also, we got the dumpster. An industrial dumpster found in the alley just next to the crime scene. Incredibly heavy, yet still shows signs of having been moved recently. The lid makes a very unpleasant sound as uncovered by Detective London's thorough investigating. If you have the funds to ride the Grey Wave the way House Hikaria does, you can make a killing. I got a market cornered from black to grey to white to pure green profit. The Blue Bloods hate that they have to make do with all the scraps the Megs in the house don't bother producing en masse. Professional jealousy? How ugly. Why can't these otherworld overlords just bury the hatchet, get together, and screw over the consumer like reasonable people do? They've tried, if you believe the rumors. About a year ago now, there was some kind of meeting, an olive branch from the Golds to the Blues. Apparently the Blue Bloods had a product that the Ikaria wanted to distribute. The Ikaria sell illegal drugs now, though. And what kind of product could the Blue Bloods have that the Ikaria couldn't manufacture? Not sure. Maybe that's why it went south so fast. Blood was spilled in less than an hour. Not surprising. The Ikaria aren't the type to keep negotiating after being spat on like that. And so the Blue Bloods remain firmly planted in their lower wards niche. They might not like having to take the low end, but they are filling a gap in the market. And that's every pauper capitalist calling, right? Besides, the workers suddenly appreciate their protection down here. Workers hire Blue Bloods for protection? But that's... all this stuff is legal, so long as they're licensed, isn't it? Legal? Yes. Respectable? Most would still say no. So household name security megs consider it too high a risk to be seen in the company of workers. Worker is a shortened form of the term sex worker, generally used to refer to individuals who are legally licensed as such, as opposed to those who are engaging in sex work outside of legal guidelines. Sex workers operating in high-end establishment, generally in specifically zoned municipal districts with high median property price, cloud districts, and catering to only specific clientele, may be more commonly referred to as courtesans. Please sign in to verify your age in order to display the full search results for your query. Yeah. Doesn't help that their average board member is easily pushing 60 years old. And far from pushing 60 yourself, are you? Matter of opinion. Besides, I'm a very modern, forward-thinking man. Did you finish those 50 rosaries already? Right. And the Icaria, they don't, compete in that market? No. People at the Icaria's Heights might patronize a courtesan or two in the cloud districts, but they never lowered themselves to work alongside one. Hypocrites. That much I understand perfectly. The hypocrisy is the appeal for them. Their rules don't apply to me. You couldn't ask for a more pure expression of power. Damn. Worse than I remember. Like a demon tour for the place. Seriously, what the hell happened here? That's what we all get paid to find out, right? Yeah. I've definitely got a head start on the rest of you, though. Shall we bring up the Arcs? Sure, I'll put you in. Allow me! If you need it on the phone, Miss Han, please don't let me keep you here. Nonsense, I got all the time in the world for you. Everyone's treating me like royalty today. Alright. Time to check the crime scene. That we definitely weren't there already. Took the words right out of my mouth. Where shall we start? How about with tall, dark, and mysterious in the middle here? That's your client. He was found standing over Chopin's body by a de-arresting officer. Roger's right, and then he knocked Sosuke out. Correct. So why is this artistic rendition of Sosuke and not a capture from Roger's body cam? Well, it seems at the time that body cam was off. Seriously? Hey, I'd chew him out myself if he was here with us. It's department policy to have all sensors green when responding to an emergency. Did all this not qualify as an emergency then? Chopin and Rogers were responding to shots fired. That's not uncommon in this part of town. But to inexperienced officers first on scene, it might not have come to mind. At least Chopin could use that excuse. Rest in peace. But apparently Rogers requests replacement body cams nearly every week. Kinda sounds like someone who is breaking shit. Okay, if he's that big of a klutz, take away his gun once the city's done throwing him a parade. I'll put in a request. Right then, who's next? Blood loss from the neck. Even I can tell that much. Stab with a bladed weapon right near the carotid artery. Very efficient. Not the kind of kill someone could make without prior experience. My client's a humble bodyguard. Come on now, I know you've got a job to do, but you'll shame him if you don't let him take credit for this one. It was no joke in a fight. To take him out with one clean stab to the neck using your precious signature katana? The hound must be itching to brag about it. I'll defer to the medical examiner on this matter, thank you very much. What do you mean? Sought to say the same thing. Cut out to the neck, in not so many words. Is Miller's blood even on the katana? Even if it is, why would a medical examiner assume the katana was used here when my knife is a much better fit for? My knife. Where is it? Where? I gave Sosuke the knife before I left. It should have been found on him when he was arrested. It should be somewhere in the arcs. You looking for something, Tiger? They haven't found the knife and I ask about it anyway. That mean admitting that I know it's missing. If I tell them Sosuke mentioned a knife that only the killer would know about, I'd be ruining my case before we even enter the courtroom. Or worse, pointing the police in the direction of the knife's real origin. No, I just... Was anything found on my client's person when he was arrested? Besides a gun, a sword, and a bunch of blood that did and didn't belong to him. No, not even any lint in his pockets. Why do you ask? No reason. Sometimes you gotta shake the tree to see what falls out. Or so to say. Oh, you were blindly guessing. I've been there. Something must have happened to that knife. It couldn't have just disappeared. Not from a crime scene locked down like this. Are we talking about locked rooms? I like locked rooms. Locked rooms are great. I'll need to find it, but I can't just go looking for it. Is this what it feels to play with a handicap? Got another body here. Let's look at it. I advised you to brace yourself on putting the autopsy photos for this one, counselor. Yes, this is sufficiently obfuscated. A lot to take in. The skull was crushed. Yes, but the real cause of death was blood loss from a laceration across the neck. He hit the floor and bled out in seconds. Everything else you're seeing there is post-mortem. Overkill. Not a word I use for this kind of shit. Oh, calm down. I didn't do it for the fun of it. In this specific instance. This victim had modded eyes. Seems to me like someone just didn't want to take any chances. Bullshit. No one in the lower wards would get optic mods with recording functionality. You wouldn't be welcome anywhere. You're gonna claim to Hound of Ikari I didn't know something that fundamental? Illegal lurkies! Hi, Ari! Hope you're doing good. Welcome to the lurkies time. Hope you enjoy your time in the bottom of this case right now. We're currently looking at a crime scene. Nah, he bashed his brain in for the fun of it. I'm sure to a law-abiding citizen like yourself, we're all scum of the earth to deserve. I'm pretty scummy myself, Han. Defense attorney, remember? Who the hell deserves shit like this? Aww. Deserves? What does that have to do with anything? I take it that this bat is what did the deed. Much as the splinter found inside his wounds, if you had any doubts. There's nothing here about Sosuke's fingerprints. Think we could get anything but partials off of that? It's practically splinters. Makes sense. I was the one who actually swung it down, and I was wearing gloves by then. Whoever did this, they were damn enthusiastic. You know how hard they'd have to swing it to crush a skull, to break the bat itself? I can't imagine. A cheap wooden bat used to bludgeon Trey's skull post-mortem. Splintered beyond repair during the bludgeoning, fingerprint analysis has proven inconclusive, returning only partials. It was barring Sosuke from exiting the other room before I used it to destroy Trey's eyes, but no one else knows that, and I have no way of informing them. What a pain. Yeah, that's the problem with knowing too much. There's some faint blood that's been smeared here. Did it belong to the victim? And Sosuke. I wonder if maybe the bodies hadn't gotten moved around for some reason, but... Your client's legs and feet were soaked in Nada's blood when he was arrested. And he would have had to sneak up on Chopin in order to stab him in the back. You think he slid his feet across the ground to avoid making noise? Does he say otherwise? I'll let you keep guessing on that one. Yeah, don't reveal everything. Windows open to the fire escape and to the alley below. There's a thin misting of blood across them. Got a good guess as to who it belongs to. This is where we found Krieg, leader of the pod. Ballistics tells us the shooter was standing in front of the desk. Stabbed in the back? Is that where the knife ended up? It looked like it was in the back. But also, the knife was put in Sosuke's hand. But Sosuke doesn't seem to remember the knife. So maybe the knife currently is in someone else's hands. And this is why it's difficult to tell. Here where my client was found. Your words, not mine. Nasty slug burst in his chest, blew blood back onto the windows behind him. The open windows. Follow spread. Yes, it is. Did someone open these, or...? No, they were open when we secured the scene. Any fingerprints? Plenty on the handles there, from Krieg and his pod. That's where the handles were. Something wrong? Definitely, but how the hell do I explain why I know that? The windows at the scene of the crime, positioned behind Krieg's desk, opens to the alley and the fire escape. Blood splatter across the windows has, through forensics analysis, been traced back to when a Magus shell split inside Krieg's ribcage, spraying blood and viscera behind him. Fingerprints on the handles match Krieg and the rest of his pod. Now the thing is that, why isn't there blood on the handles? Why isn't there blood on the handles? Especially, like, it should have covered the fingerprints because it's literally what happened last. Also, they were open afterwards. You can see there's two layers of blood on the windows. The windows were closed during the actual murder of Krieg and the gang by Morgan, but then it was open after. So that means that someone did go through this side. But again, why is there no blood on the handles? That is weird. No, sorry, I guess I'm wondering about the keys around his neck in the arc. Oh, well, one was a master key. Couldn't unlock any other door in the building. The other key we eventually paired to a small safe in his desk. Empty though. Suppose that's all irrelevant since he apparently died with the keys on his person. Yeah, they caught my eye too, to be honest, but not every detective's instinct pans out. So who was this guy? Curious. Only professionally. I don't care what he was before I kill him. Criminal record dating as far back as it goes. Sealed when he turned 18. What makes you so sure he has a juvenile record then? The more experience these guys get, the more time in between their arrests. Pattern I'm seeing, he was pretty damn experienced by the time he was of age. You trying to compliment him? I wasn't trying to insult him, Han. Anything you'd like to add? Nah, nothing I want to say in front of you two. If you want to say a few words, the detective and I could step. Only was I for his killer. I'll deliver them in person. Or not at all. Fair enough. Do you have any idea why someone might want to hurt this Krieg fellow? That's not funny. That dog you're defending. It's a fair question, Han. Give it fair consideration. Besides the Ikaria, the rest of our city's finest. No, Krieg was charismatic and driven. Plus, he made us a lot of money. No true blue wouldn't want him gone. The bloodthirsty Ikaria soldier he was interrogating, however, probably wasn't a huge fan. What about family? This is getting old. This is getting old fast. Younger brother is listed as next of kin. Live his brother out of this. Hell, live me out of this. Bringing for a person like you picking at the zits. Well, seems like he's out of town. Anyway, taking summer lessons at How Mariner U. That's a good school. An expensive school. Younger brother has no listed occupation. Also, no priors and no juvenile record. PAD at his age? Poor kid. Bills for that cost an arm and leg. Greek must have been sending him. Detective, did you just leak the confidential medical data of the non-suspect to a Fed party? Hey, you don't have to report. How about you have an ice cream or something? Bribery too, you're digging yourself pretty deep. Is it still bribery if I'm the government official? You're still bribing an attorney. That's not really a good look, buddy. That is not a great flash, but I will look afterwards. The big one. He made a strange face when I shot him. A loud slam when he hit the floor. This one, real long rap sheet, with a short ending. Buckshot to the torso. Died instantly. Flex were on his mods, put his time of death at 9:44 p.m. Killed by his own weapon. Comes up a bit short of poetic justice, but it doesn't look like he was in any kind of a struggle for it beforehand. But how'd someone manage to get it off his hands? It wasn't any great feat, I assure you. Fix identified it as a double-barreled Mag US, and... Hey, how'd you know the gun was his? He's still wearing the holster in the arcs. Was I mistaken? No. About a week ago, tanks here was stopped and frisked by a patrol unit. And they found this here gun on him. They found this gun on him, and they just handed it back to him. He bought and paid for it above board. But this gun isn't jailbroken. You have tag data on from the murders. No, we don't. Strange. According to the text, this gun is jailbroken. What happened between last week and last night that he get this tag stripped off? A short-barreled maglev firearm recovered from the scene of the crime, registered to Anchor 10, aka Tanks. Found on Sosuke Ikaria's person when he was arrested by Officer Rogers. Fingerprint analysis shows that Sosuke Ikaria gripped it in his left hand. No one else's fingerprints are present. Modified to an illegal extent, the slugs fired detonate after penetrating their target, increasing lethality, and the gun leaves no digital traces, tags from when or where it was fired. Horribly gaudy, but got the job done. Last I saw it, I'd left it in Sosuke's waistband. Something that made him think this piece would see action soon. Anyway. Let's look at the question. Who the hell? Who the hell are you, really? Why are you lying there dead right in the middle of my crime scene? That was Tariq Chopin, as you might guess. A patrol officer and the son of two loving fathers. We strongly emphasized to the chief of police their desire to see justice done. Reyes wasn't exaggerating about how he died. Run from behind with a sword. Dewey would have been standing in front of the desk, then he was impaled. Then he collapsed to the floor face first, and the sword got stuck in the ground. Bad luck for the attacker, I suppose. Yeah, Dr. Sato's noted in her report that the stab wound was, in her words, jostled. Sato, are we gonna meet her again? Like the attacker tried to pull it out, but it was stuck, so they had to jiggle it around. The blade became Excalibur, is what I'm guessing here. Hey, it's probably what saved Roger's life. Kept your client distracted and disarmed long enough to give Rogers time to rush in. Allegedly. Not where I left you, that's for sure. And according to Sosuke, the one thing he does recall after I passed the baton to him is gripping his sword. You're not giving much to work with. Fingerprints on the grip match your client's right hand, by the way. He was getting my hopes up. And it definitely wasn't suicide because no one else prints on the damn thing. I ruled out suicide once I saw he was stabbed in the back, thank you. There are papers scattered underneath his body. Did I knock them off desk at some point? Maybe when the tall one hit the ground. Or maybe when I was swinging that bat down on. Hang on. What kind of paper is this? I can't read a word. Really? You should get looked at. Of Visions 2020. What am I looking at, Miss Site Manager? Those docs are internal business, ma'am. Nothing to worry your pretty little head over. How do you know they're internal business if we can't read them? You really never seen Red Ink before? Never heard of it! It's a corporate information security protocol. Files with special flags trigger specific print commands if you try to make physical copies. Makes it use some kind of special ink. Try to take a photo of it and it comes out a bright blur. Paper special too. Too much heat, humidity, becomes illegible. A corpse bleeding out on top of you is a lot of heat and humidity. So these documents contain confidential data that the Blue Bloods wouldn't want getting out. What did they say in the movies? I can't confirm nor deny that. If I subpoena data. God, subpoena is such a difficult word. Dear words, we got lawyers too. And unlike your client, they all got the time in the world to stall. Besides, you and I both know exactly what the Hound's motive was. It isn't written in those pages. It's written all over his busted up face. Sure. But you won't mind if I copy down whatever I can anyway, right? I wouldn't have any legal reason to stop you if that's what you're getting at. Alright, we got a Red Ink. Papers scattered all over his desk. Suppose I'm partially to blame. I didn't exactly memorize his setup before I started searching for the mask. What's this? What do you find in there? A note? It's like Krieg's handwriting from the other files I've seen. Mr. Ikaria. Looks like Mr. Ikaria. He's dead, London. I was gonna let the spelling mistake slide. So I'm right, sorry, but M? That's gonna be Makoto, right? You know Makoto? I know he's the Ikaria's heir apparent. From what I hear, he's an appropriately frightening young scion. He's really quite something. But why would his name be on Krieg's desk? He was Krieg's real target the other day. Sosuke was some kind of consolation prize. Bagging the Hound was a consolation prize. Eastpunks had their sights set high. Yeah, like no one taught them not to stare at the sun. Krieg's fine with desk. He seemed particular about it. Maybe in a small part because it had a priceless no mask hidden inside it, but I assume you've been through the state about here. From to back, we didn't find anything we didn't already know. Seems like Krieg was smart enough to use it for payment and nothing else. You have data about the Red Ink. Yes, I couldn't access the phone is what I was, the issue was. I'm gonna be reading the Red Ink, don't worry. I imagined that. Even gangsters need spreadsheets. Hence the paperwork you see scattered about. They really did everything by hand. PPP is what they call it over in organized crime. Paper and pencil protocol. Okay, we got two of them, so let's actually go into Red Ink first. But first a little sip of water, because I've been talking non-stop! Okay. Red Ink is an information systems security protocol whose name has become synonymous with anti-dissemination technology in general. While different organizations will make use of different technologies to achieve their data security goals, the original system core principles are still widely taught and practiced in business administration courses around the globe. First developed in the mid-21st century amidst widespread concerns about hackers' newfound capabilities after the ThirdNet code leak, Red Ink practices emphasize the vulnerability of digital systems and espouse the relative reliability of physical documents printed or even handwritten information that cannot be changed or stolen except through in-person action. More broadly, Red Ink systems are designed to minimize the time that critical information spends changing hands. Critics of the teaching thus claim it is antithetical to the cooperation between peers and leads to siloing of information. Red Ink is also commonly used to refer to any kind of printed text material that incorporates anti-piracy measures. Common examples include anti-photocopier sheen gloss paper that degrades outside of extremely narrow moisture conditions, cipher encrypted text based on extinct indigenous languages, and sleeper masks, sleeper marks, printer machine codes left on the corners of documents that are invisible to the naked eye, but unique to individual printers. Pretty interesting. Now, the other evidence is that we want to see those kinds of things. We still have the dark code on this, huh? A simple datapad with an attachment for processing non-standard identification info, commonly sold to allow payment processing of unusual or rare forms. Besides some partials, fingerprints were found matching those of Creek and Officer Chopin. Technicians have confirmed that the datapad is locked to Creek's fingerprints, making it difficult for anyone else to use it. A dark card is stuck quite firmly into the attached card reader. Couldn't avoid touching it, had to at least pretend the dark card would work. Documents found at the scene of the crime, mostly blotted out by the blood coming from Chopin's corpse, apparently contained high confidential information of high value, but only the occasional page number, graphic, or name can be spotted. Snippets include page 021, Lars required for expansion of eminent domain with proper. Okay. Page 345, payments to supportive constriction. Re-election for Councilman Long to put for, colloquially referred to as the lower wards. 492, be vote upcoming. Stress the importance of OPSEC of the highest level. Okay, this seems to be the documents we were talking about last stream. On time. Also, we got the katana again. Bladed weapon found at the scene of the crime impaled into the torso of victim Tariq Chopin. The steel is chipped as several points, especially the tip. Fingerprints on the handle match the right hand of Sosuke Ikaria. No other prints found. Blood residue at various points of the blade matches the DNA of victims Chopin, Miller, and Trey. Another murder weapons I had to wipe prints off before taking my leave. It was indulgent, trying to take Trey's head off. Wasn't my only indulgence either. I must have gotten Miller's blood on the blade tip when I dragged it across the floor. Helps the orcas keep their books off the books. At least in a format that's easier to destroy should push come to shove. Did you run checks on this credit card that's jammed in here? Ah, not surprised you don't recognize it. But there is a dark card. Wow, tell me more. Wow, tell me more! It's an untraceable wallet in the palm of your hand. I would hope any wallet would fit in the palm of your hand, detective. But you really can't find the owner. Can't trace any of its transaction. Most we can tell is the datapad registered calls to Darkwood networks around 9:40 p.m., but it timed out. What does that mean? The transfer didn't go through. Either someone got cold feet or they forgot the password. Happens to the best of us. A physical card key that begins the authentication process for accessing funds located in a cryptographically secure account. Without the fingerprint of the owner and the 24-digit passcode, the card alone is functionally useless. Forensics show that all fingerprints have been wiped off of it at some point. Recovered at the crime scene, stuck in the card reader of a datapad. Only reason I had to take my gloves off in the first place was because of this useless piece of plastic. Alright. By the way, why has this glove been flagged? Not sure. Forensics didn't find blood on it. Who flagged it? Lady Rockford herself. Could be that she fat thumbed it. Yeah, I'm sure it's nothing. What do you have left? I saw something. Show me something. Through this door is where they were keeping Sosuke, and where I let him off the leash. I'll leave that for after I finish in here. What else do we have? This screen. I turned not to distract Tanks long enough to grab his gun. and I remember choosing not to turn it back off. Interesting setup. Powerful setup was blaring when we arrived. The sound system, I mean. One of the CS techs is a real audiophile. Said it broke her heart how loud they must have blared the speakers all the time. Where is it out, she says. A sound system found at the scene of the crime. According to the ARCs, the system was still playing music loudly by the time the crime scene techs started scanning the environment. It really was giving me a headache when I turned it off. Didn't enjoy having to turn it back on before I left just to leave no trace. I wouldn't count on orcas to value the longevity of their tech purchases. Okay, looks like that's everything in here. I don't envy either of your workloads. It's a mess in here. It's a lot of blood, that's for sure. I'm impressed you haven't gotten nauseous, miss. I'd be right at home here if you weren't poking your noses around. Shoot, I just remembered. I never hear the end of it if I don't check in with my partner of saying I would. You two keep going you're too good to keep going if I step out to make a call. A call? Is your partner your mom? And is your mom blind? Send a text. Thanks for your understanding. Maybe he was the one with a weak stomach. You be sure to let me know if you're feeling faint. I can keep going. We're nearly finished anyway. I'd stick to the arcs if I were you. Nothing behind that door that's better seen in person. You've been such a gracious host up until this point, Miss Han. Why the cold feet now? It's ugly in there. Uglier than this? Different kind of ugly then. It's all in the eye of the beholder. I warned you. Don't worry. I can stomach it just fine. So long as I can understand it. Why did Creekspot torture my client? I don't know what they did. Sosuke told me they electrocuted him, hon. They probably just grounded him. A great current applied every few minutes stops most mods from rebooting. So no SOS pings, no adrenaline burst pulled out of his ass. And the pliers, hammers, and syringes. What purpose did they serve? They could have just killed Sosuke when they fell to Nabnokoto. Instead, they dragged him down here. To try? Why? To try and get info on Makoto's itinerary. Get enough intel to make another run at him. If there are any answers for me in here, I'll need a grout scraper to find them. First, let's go to the buckets. Here's water, cold enough that condensation is on the outside of the bucket. It's hot water for sponge baths. Just a simple way to keep a guest from dozing off. Temperature shock makes caffeine look like a sleep aid. It's coming after you claim you don't know if Sosuke was tortured. You know what that other bucket's for then? I know you said you got a weak sense of smell, but do you really need a hint here? Ah. But then this last bucket here is... What is that? Trash? Loaf and rope. Linings. Oh, bandages! See, they were nursing him back to health. I'll run your theory past Sosuke's next chance when I get. This must be what's left of what they were keeping Sosuke tied up with. Bloody cloth bindings found inside the room where Sosuke was held, stiff with dried blood and clearly cut with something sharp. It would have had to use something, yeah. This door doesn't even lock. Not after I removed the bat barring it from the outside. So he was brought here, tied up, questioned. Then he breaks out, bursts into the next room, cuts up 2 of his captors and blows the other 2 away. That's what you think happened? That's what it looks like. And then what? Chopin runs in and turns his back on a violent criminal? Don't strain yourself trying to make it sound improbable. Cops are dumb. If the hound crouched in a corner, he'd have his chance soon enough. Hell, he probably just played dead. Walking into that scene out there, you think some patrol officers would go around checking pulses. Why would my client go to all that trouble to get the jump on an officer? Why not just run away? Oh, why not ask him for medical treatment? Because he was standing in the middle of the 4 men he just killed? I know that Sosuke had no logical reason to attack Chopin, but so what? Even Sosuke himself said he would have been acting on instinct. Would instinct tell him that Chopin was in between him and his escape? Good question. And I think that's a question we're gonna have to think about until I go back from the ads. Let's roll them ads. See you on the other side for more of the devil. Welcome back from the ads, everyone. Let's continue our little investigation. Has all this blood been tested, Miss Sun? Enough of it has. Besides Sosuke, who else would it belong to? That's a bit lazy, but it's not as if there's more here than the last time I visited. Sosuke really did lose a lot of blood. By the time he stumbled out of here, a stiff risk should have been enough to knock him over. Is he really such a badass that he still managed to take out a police officer before he even noticed? It's not as if I feel nothing, like it's someone else's handiwork, the product of their violence. But it's like an artificial sweetener. No complaints for that in first instant. Then the aftertaste comes. Empty calories. I'll just be hungrier again later. Faster. Best to say disciplined. Oh, we found them. Hypodermic needles. Probably not packing anything healthy. Sosuke better hope they were at least sanitized. I'm not sure Sarah can treat an infection with glaze. Gauze and rubbing alcohol alone. But those needles were there. The design of these needles seems a little odd. Well, someone will tell you sooner or later, so... They're projectiles. Load them into a gun and fire away. Sosuke was captured by men wielding needle guns. Does Cyanus Security have any peacekeeping tools they'd like to disclose as having recently gone missing? You're cursing up the wrong pipe. Crick could find all tools all on his own, and we're not that kind of operation. An operation where the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing. Well, like the right hand's just been washed if you have to handle some garbage. Cyanus, is that legitimate? Why aren't all the Blue Bloods working legal jobs then? Not enough positions available. You gotta earn like hell to be considered for a job on this side of the fence. Creek and his spot weren't bringing in that kind of money. They liked Creek's spot when it was they? Upper management. Unmask is a death sentence, crafted specifically for one very special customer. I'm just the one given the honor of hanging onto it until... And did upper management like Creek? I'm just a humble site manager, miss. I wouldn't know. Sure. So do all these needles contain anesthetic? No, there's also stimulants in barbituracin. Originally developed as a hypnotic sleep aid drug for active duty military personnel, barbituracin is currently prescribed, though rarely, as an anti-anxiety and anti-seizure medication. Often depicted in popular cultures and some drug manufacturers' promotional materials as a truth serum, barbituracin has never been shown to function as such in controlled setting. When compared against the sampling of liquors ranging from 40 to 80 proof, barbituracin resulted in only truthful confessions only 0.2 more often. Even getting wasted is not enough. And no subjects admitted to providing information that they were not already comfortable with divulging. Users also frequently search for how to tell if someone is cheating, where to buy a lie detector, see who has me muted on... God, this is so topical, freak's sake. Also, we got the needles. Projectile hypodermic needles recovered from the room where Sosuke was being held. The contents within matched the non-lethal anesthetics found in Sosuke's bloodstream at the time of his arrest, though other needles were found containing stimulants and drugs commonly marketed as truth serums. Like the truth serum. You can get sued for selling it as such. It makes you talk, doesn't make you say the truth. So they wanted Sosuke talking, but what did they ask him? If your client can't remember or isn't willing to recall, there's really no one else alive who would know, yeah? I'm getting a headache, but it's not from anything sensory. I should know more about this crime scene than anyone. Why can't I piece it together? If I can't piece it together, the cops never trace any of this back to me, right? Why do I feel so ill at ease? Okay, thanks for your patience, ladies. Did I miss anything? Nah. Oh. Would you have felt better if you had? I'm going to head out now, actually. I've got a long day tomorrow. You're going back to by yourself then, are you sure? I could get you a ride out of the neighborhood. I'm sure my son has already made sure that I will both get out of here without any trouble. That is her company's area of expertise, isn't it? Of course. At least let me walk you out. Sure, why not? Safe travels. So, Detective, there's something you didn't want to talk about in front of the professionals at Cyanus Security? Thanks for picking up on that. Reyes will be upset that you never checked in. Yeah, right after this I will. This room, are we directly underneath this crime scene? Yeah, same fire escape right here. Same type of window, too. Has this room been scanned into the arcs? Yeah, but no one found anything noteworthy, except Cyanus being sloppy. So what were you actually doing when you left Han and I back there? Something Han said earlier about no true blue would wish harm on Creek. A phrasing stood out to me, because it implies the existence of false blue bloods. Because it reminded me of one of the first things I learned in this city. There are no monoliths. Megs, Orcas, City Hall. There are always factions. And among the Blue Bloods, the party lines are especially visible. So I made a call, not to raise, and confirm some things. And I figure I owe you a little hint or two, considering the tone of that last message I delivered. That message warned me not to broaden the scope of my investigation. Getting hints from you might be self-defeating. Not these hints, trust me. So what faction did Opal Creek belong to? The Young Bloods, opposite end of the compass from the Old Guard, the conservative Blue Blood leadership. All of them older than 70, some of them pushing higher than 90. And said Creek was too useful for anyone to want dead, but my sources don't agree. Creek talked, said things aloud that others only whispered. Ambitious, charismatic, up-and-coming, and young. Could easily see him being very unpopular with all of the wrong people in the Old Guard. That's interesting info, Detective, but it doesn't exactly flip this case on its head. I already know who killed Creek. The police have already decided it's Sosuke. Planning that he had some occupational hazards would hardly convince the jury otherwise. My client's the one standing accused, and everyone already knows why Blue Bloods and Icarias would want to kill each other. Do you? They are rival gangs, they hate each other. Do you know why? It's the same reason all the Blue Blood leadership is ancient, while all their muscle is made up of orphans and delinquents. 30 years ago, the Icaria betrayed their peace with the Blue Bloods, started killing them. And they didn't stop for days. By the end of it, every single member of the leading Blue Blood families under the age of 40 was dead. Well, I can see how their kids would grow up to hate the Icaria, yeah. You're not getting it, Tiger. Their kids didn't grow up at all. If that's the case, are the Blue Bloods still around? For one thing, the Icaria had bigger fish to fry. This was right before the Red Decade. Spent every second of the next 10 years positioning themselves so they could come out on the other hand as nobility. Second, what remained of the Blue Bloods found a new niche to fill. Taking in delinquents furious at the country driven off by a cliff by adults before they could even get a chance to vote. Blue Bloods swelled their ranks to new heights by looking out for the little guys during those years, in exchange for favors down the line. Lastly, and more importantly, they survived because they still had hope. You serious? I am. It's a powerful weapon. Hope for what? Hope that the Icaria had missed one, that they fled the country. Hope that a promised heir would grow strong and return one day, a triumphant little lord with overflowing riches and overwhelming power. Sounds like a fairy tale. Those endure for a reason. Well, now you know. Wanting to watch where you step isn't exactly worth much if you're fumbling around in the dark. Fairy tales and warnings. What's up? Hey, did you or your pals in OC ever hear about some kind of blue blood hunter? Like a bounty hunter? Or huntsman, maybe? Why do you hit that? Sosuke thinks he might have overheard talk of something like that when he was in captivity. Does it mean anything? Nope. I don't like the hesitation there, Detective. Just an urban legend. I would have said the same thing about Unlisted before this afternoon, and yet... Fair enough. If you see a huntsman and live to tell the tale, I'll buy you as many Lotto tickets as you want. Hey, you ever pay attention to any of this graffiti down here? Crawlings about the Lobo and the Cyberpunk and HBK increasingly. I haven't seen that myself. I was gonna say Red Hood. Why are you asking? You feel a chill down your spine? Except for HBK, that's all new. That's all old news. Ghost stories and campfire tales. There are a lot of campsites around here. That's a place to start fires. Red Hood, haven't heard that in who knows how long. It's one of the oldest. Rough story. It's based on a real event? Nothing worth recounting. I'll take your word for it. But what's gone into you that you're feeling all superstitious? Guilty conscience? You mean about working with the Mafia? A psychologist would call that projecting. Ouch. Too far? Nah. Didn't feel a thing. I don't know why I ask, really. Guess I've just had a not feeling all day. Like deja vu. You been here before? No, I hate that feeling. It's whatever the opposite of that would be. The unnerving sudden need and you're in uncharted waters. Scary stuff. Yeah, pretty scary that we still don't really have a good idea of what happened. But we're back at the apartment. Karia, Blue Blood, Megs, Orcas, petty cops and criminal informants. Lines run back and forth but cross the battlefield like a spider's suspension bridge. Dizzying in its complexity, frail along any given strand. One wrong move and you're completely ensnared. Priorities. The Ikaria don't care about Wood Tor through Creek's gang, but Wood prefers Sosuke doesn't spend life in prison for killing a cop. The Blue Bloods want to tear Sosuke's throat out, but if Han's taken at her word, the sling for 5 counts of murder. Can I take Han at her word? Is she a young blood like Creek, or is she with the old god? Could I have asked London that? If I had, could I have trusted his answer? Because it turns out the case in London is much harder to read than I anticipated. I can't even trust my client to act in his own self-interest. This man's a bodyguard by trade and a zealot for his house. A trial starts tomorrow. Do I still need more information? Is there time to find it? No, what I need right now is a nightcap. If I can't fall asleep, then I know I'm in trouble until then. Guess sleep will have to wait. ACAB, yeah, totally. It's unlocked. Pardon me for dropping in at such late hour, Counselor Morgan. Standing there in my doorway, she cut through the light like a blade of spilt ink. But twice as sharp and not nearly as familiar. It is outside of normal consultation now, is Miss? She purses her lips, like lily petals shying away from the moonlight. ACB, I agree. Hi, Mystic Ether. How you doing? What's a smirk by any other name? Please, call me Mirai. Any last name, Mirai? The question floats in the air like curling cigarette smoke. I see some lickies. Matching friend. Let's go, matching friend. Also, yes, ACAB and fuck ice. I could tell she was used to the smell. I'll leave that up to your imagination. Self-assured and unapologetic, the unspoken family name as loud as the signature. Written in blood. You're from House Ikaria. Might I step inside? She blinks. Her head turns a millimeter. A forked tongue testing the temperature of the air. He wasn't asking for permission. Just you. What about your friends in the hallway? He raises an eyebrow, but keeps staring at the floor. She's surprised at my perception of the unseen threat, but not quite impressed. I don't think they need to join us. Do you? She was the kind of woman to make you remember. Smoking could kill. How can I be of service, Mirai? You're already being quite accommodating, both to me and my family's interests. I came here tonight to be of service to you. I understand that you're somewhat new to this underworld of ours. I'm grateful for the offer, Mirai, but inexperienced as I am, I've gathered that House Ikaria didn't come into its fortune by being generous. Would you like to know how House Ikaria did come into its fortune? I know you operate a lending corporation with a significantly diversified portfolio. I appreciate subtitling the typewriter cadence. Yes, me as well. Otherwise I would have been having a lot of trouble reading things. Yes, the good old IFG. The public face of the Ikaria criminal empire, clean shaven as it's become. And I know you founded a pharmaceutical company and profited immensely when it went public. And before that, I know your family became nobility during the years of civil unrest, no doubt by being well positioned when the time came to reprivatize our nation's industries. Yes, and before that, I know you slaughtered the Bluebloods 30 years ago. Very good, Councillor Morgan. You've acclimated to our waters very remarkably fast. What I don't know is why Makoto Ikaria has been the target of multiple kidnapping attempts over the past year. You can't fathom a guess as to why the Blue Bloods might want to ransom the family's heir. That's the only guess I can make. It struck me as shallow. Nothing more dangerous than waters you don't know the depths of. As you said, 30 years ago, the Ikaria cartel, an unrecognizable band of brutes and drug smugglers compared to today, massacred the respectable Blue Bloods and left their geriatric leadership to die on the vine. But Rich thrust a knife much deeper than that. He went after their heirs and their entire future. Are you familiar with genetic factor identification? Using DNA as a password? Blood, specifically, is easier than memorizing a string of 3 billion characters long. But GFA is fallen out of favor, isn't it? Genetic factor authentication is a password security system wherein a live blood sample is provided in combination with a username and passkey in order to complete verification. GFA can only be conducted in person with the sample acquired by a trained on-site professional. Because of the physical realities of the verification process itself, GFA is considered cryptographically secure. It cannot be bypassed or hacked in any traditional sense. While some security systems and cryptographic algorithms incorporate biological elements in one or more ways, GFA, as it was originally developed, has gone largely unadopted throughout the business world. Few corporations are interested in tying information or resources to specific bloodlines as opposed to specific groups, and the verification process itself is inconvenient for most while totally unusable for anyone working remotely. GFA still offered over some of the most prestigious and secure banks in the world, and families with particularly long lineages have been known to favor GFA for what are effectively symbolic reasons. Because GFA remains accessible to any past or future offspring of the initial registries, it is sometimes offered as a wedding or baby shower gift for couples intending to set up trusts. Users also frequently search for how to change the lost password fast. No! I lost all my blood and it's been replaced by blood with nanomachines and I can't clear the GFA requirements. Also, I forgot to look at Mirai's profile. Mirai, October 1st, height 163 centimeters, blood type A+, occupation representative, likes sipping alcohol, rubbing alcohol, arachnids. Ooh. Dislikes sunrises, black tea, photographers. Favorite smell, dojo floors. The best at making use of people. Worst at hiding my distaste. Damn. Hell. The Blue Bloods made ample use of it back then. A bad bet. They already had all the offshore accounts, business, titles, property deeds. The Blue Bloods thought they had already won, that they were establishing a dynasty. So as they made their political marriages, they bound their alliances and fortunes in literal blood. GFA was both a financial and symbolic laundering of the Blue Bloods' past. Their children, now married, clean-cut and perfectly respectable, would prosper alongside wealth no longer tainted by ill-gotten gains. So that the GFA registry became the Icaria's checklist. We went through and crossed out anyone that could have accessed those funds. Now all of it sits untouchable overseas in encrypted digital warehouses in some of the oldest, most austere banks in the world, collecting interest that will never be claimed. Does that answer your question as to why they target Makoto? No. And you know it doesn't. Because if they thought they could lock you out of your coffers by killing Makoto, they wouldn't be trying to take him in alive. You're paying attention. I like that. We don't use GFA. Makoto is heir to the House Ikaria, to the Ikaria Financial Group. He'd never be tied to a legitimate banking information. Why not? What if he wants to buy a lollipop? A lollipop would be provided for him. The family's black market proceeds and its white market holdings must never mix. You divided your house right down the middle. Pardon the expression, but how can you stand atop the backs of many? And you take all this division that seriously. Deadly seriously. That is our family rule, dating back centuries. Either you serve the house, or you serve its interests. Never both. You're assigned to either criminal organization, what's registered as the IFG, or to managing the family's legitimate business holdings, like Renogen. But that means you are nearly as much of an outsider to the Ikaria financial group as you are. Nearly is doing a lot of work here. Would you answer to then? Who controls the Ikaria's legitimate empire? Until Makoto marries his mother. I take it Makoto isn't solely responsible for the house's affairs at his age. Makoto wields great authority as the heir, but yes, the house is led by his father Raphael, and more directly by his grandfather, our patriarch Daisuke Ikaria. I see, but that puts me back where I started. The Blue Bloods want to hold Makoto hostage to gain leverage on the likes of Daisuke. How can I put this? Had things gone even slightly different 30 years ago, the Blue Bloods would have been the ones shaking hands with politicians, marrying ambassadors, and sitting in boardrooms. Some of them believed it can still be so, if the right match were made. They want to marry into House Ikaria? But Makoto's and all the real Blue Bloods are older than... They'd find an age-appropriate adoption. You're missing the point. They need Makoto alive and well to negotiate that kind of reversal of fortune. So they've been trying to capture him for the past year. But every Blue Blood I met today seemed to care a lot more about getting revenge for that dead man than kidnapping a preteen. How many of them do you think Sosuke's cut down in the last year he spent repelling their attempts? Is that a source of internal conflict? The old god is still throwing young bloods into an Ikaria shredder en masse, trying to capture Makoto just to elevate themselves. I suppose that all might total up to enough motivation for them to torture Sosuke, yeah? I had heard Sosuke was wounded. No one informed you that he had been tortured. You know him, I take it. As you've gathered, Sosuke deals in matters unrelated to my side of the family. But he's still family. Speaking of my side, I have a duty as a representative of my wing of the house to stress that we do not want this trial to be prolonged. So the bean counters don't care for the extra attention. That makes sense. You care about the outcome. A win is always preferable, but not a necessity. Makoto Ikaria hired me to prove Sosuke's innocence, if he's the one signing the checks. Did he say why he hired you? He hired you for 2 reasons. Reason 1, his options are limited, more limited than he suggested, no doubt to keep a strong front. The entire house is currently being audited by the state. Our usual legion of lawyers and accountants are already billing hours as fast as they can, so he wouldn't have his pick up the litter. So one half of the family can't talk business at the dinner table with the other half, but he's sure a pool of lawyers. Lawyers can be trusted to be discreet, can they not? Yeah, I can read between the lines. So then you understand reason 2. Whatever lawyer he did find for the Ikaria's usual connection would like me do whatever's best for the house as a whole, and not what's best for Sosuke. I'll make an amendment. 3 reasons. Makoto knew that if he didn't assign him any lawyer, Sosuke would just stay silent as the state dragged him off to be chained, rather than inconvenience the house any further. Well, yeah. I've known Sosuke for less than a day, and even I can tell he's never seen a cross he wouldn't jump at the opportunity to bear. It explains why Makoto would hire someone without connections to the Ikaria. He's slow rolling another addendum to clear up why on earth my name came across his desk. Littered with crayons and timetables, as I'm sure it was. I hope I've been able to elucidate matters for you, Councillor Morgan. Actually, subtle way to say we're done talking. Now, might I ask you a small favor in return? Pass this message to Sosuke. If you see a way out, take it. You understand what you're asking me to do. Even if Sosuke to a plea bargain, even if I somehow got the other charges reduced to manslaughter and self-defense, The state thinks he killed a cop. The message is for Sasuke, not you. Interpretation of it is irrelevant. End of conversation. As she reaches for the exit, she turns back to look at me, lingering in the doorway like the warm buzz of a strong, dark cocktail. But your assessment is correct. If this were just 4 dead blue bloods, our dim little underworld could balance out the ledger unassisted. If that cop hadn't shown up last night. You know something about the late Officer Chopin? City in mourning after death of City Councilman's beloved adoptive son in the line of duty. All I know is that his funeral dirge will make those 4 boys' deaths sound like a disinterested sigh. By the way, I must admit you have a lovely apartment, Counselor. Changing subjects as subtly as a bullet train hopping its tracks. Quite spacious for a defense attorney. Yeah, place wouldn't sell after the tram route got diverted. I negotiated down the rent and then installed all the soundproofing myself. Can't open the windows without being treated to the sounds of the city then. There's always a cost. That's one mystery solved then, isn't it? Enjoy the rest of your quiet evening, Counselor. The door glides to a close behind her, easy as a question left unasked. I'm left here hanging on a single held breath of stillness, listening as the deafened thud of her Horner's god implied violence stomps down the hallway behind her. I was still leaned back in my chair, staring holes into my ceiling long after the scent of her expensive tobacco had faded into no. Savoring it while it lasted was beyond me at the moment. My attention was elsewhere. This case is knotted and twisted like a gnarled oak, just when I think I found my rhythm. The blade runs dull. Carving is an exercise in patience and wisdom. You need to start with a clear picture of what you want. I want some answers. But for now, I sleep. Tomorrow in court, I'll just have to keep whittling away at the wood until I fashion something halfway usable. And well, if that doesn't work, I'll use the chainsaw. Hey, cool kid. Yes, you. Trying to look all stoic staring out the window. A little late to try and look detached after that thing you pulled the other day. So that wasn't a joke, making that announcement in front of the class? You trying to start a detective club or something? What mysteries? Disappearing cleaning supplies, books not getting returned to the library? Sounds lame. But not like it that's your fault. Everything's lame. You like finding members. Everyone around here already knows what they're gonna do after school. And tomorrow. And next year. They're all staring down at the barrel of a lucrative career in telling other companies how to provide web services, or whatever the hell this school's supposed to train us for. A lawyer. If you say so, cool kid. The MIGs will probably have robots doing that by the time you graduate, for sure. Law school's supposed to be hard to get into. You need a record that doesn't suck. Getting the club you started shut down because you couldn't get anyone to join probably won't help. Wow, so confident. Really are a cool kid. And that's on those nice words that we will end for today. As I save the game in High Roller mode. And we shall return to the main screen. Because next time, it's Trial, baby! Also, it's already late because I was late to the stream. Yes, I'm very sorry about that. There's this thing called I was kind of practicing for Icebreaker! Okay, so quickly, I'm going to be running at Icebreaker tomorrow at 11:50 a.m. CT. So basically 5, like close to 6 a.m. Eastern. If you want to find out about the runs, you can see the entire schedule on the Icebreaker page on Ningus. It's gonna be great. I am so excited to be running for the event. Outside of that, if you enjoyed the stream, obviously support is always appreciated, be it by following, subscribing, or watching only the ads, or even lurking. anything you do is still counted by Twitch analytics, and it's always good to know. Outside of that, what we're going to be doing next week is pretty simple. We're going to be just continuing on the usual schedule with some practice for some Yaw's Rising, unless something else comes up, and more of the Devil next week on Friday. I hope you're really excited. But yeah, if you're interested in subscribing gets you access to the wonderful Larry emotes. They're very cute and very adorable. We just added the Sleeping Larry emote, who is very adorable and I love him. If you want to have the emotes, subscribing is the best way, but also you can use your channel points to access them. Outside of that, I don't think I have much else to say. Really excited for Icebreakers, really excited for this game. This game has been blowing it out of the water again. And I'm really excited for the trial. Let's hope that everything goes well. Because, oof, last time I did took some beating after the whole thing. So, yeah. Anyway, after all of this, let's find someone to raid. Now, at first I wanted to raid into Icebreakers, but I'm gonna raid into Cell, because she's definitely gonna raid into Icebreakers, and also, we didn't get to raid Cell last time, so let's have a nice time and say hi to Cell. Cell is also practicing for Icebreakers, so if you're really interested in that, I suggest you go watch her. Say hi to Cell, be kind, and everything. She's gonna be doing some practice of Blueprints Bingo, Bequest Bingo, so it's gonna be very fun. But yeah. Outside of that, as always, the raid messages, meow, and any cute emotes, preferably some Larry emotes. Maybe those ones, or the other ones. But yeah, outside of that, we'll see you in a few days, or tomorrow if you're doing some Icebreakers watching. Thank you for watching, everyone, and bye-bye.